you should be able to have one person on your phone, you pick it up and you say, what is going on here? And they should be able to shoot you straight, tell you this is that, that's why, and they should be heavily educated on all these different facets. And that's the way it generally works. And unfortunately, a lot of early owners, they got to go through 3 or 4 bad experiences to find the guy they can trust to do all that stuff for them and get a straight answer out of them. That episode with Alex was pretty fire, wasn't it?
The whole King Air gathering really enjoyed it.
Yeah. One thing I'm going to circle back on real quick, how do you make that leap, that bridge between being a reconnaissance pilot and then wind up being an Air Force One pilot?
I liked the setup that we got to use and just kind of have a different feel for it with the stage and everything. But man, he's always got good stories, and I think it's cool whenever you meet somebody who's been like the best at what they've done in the world. Like, man, I'm always down to listen to that. So, and I thought you pulled a lot of gold out of him. That was a cool episode.
It was. I was a little skeptical on how that would go, doing it in front of a live audience and having that whole group out there and all that. But
did it feel different or
no? I didn't even realize they were there. Honestly, like I was so engaged in that conversation with Alex. Like at the end, I was like, oh shit, there's people here. Like I didn't even really notice it, to be honest, but I wasn't sure like people would be talking or trying to ask questions while we're recording and all that. I just didn't know, but it turned out great. I really enjoyed it, and I think it gave the whole interview a little more energy too. So it was fun.
And I think, out of all the sessions, that was the one that was the most full, and there was a lot of buzz afterwards too.
That event's so fun. It's almost everyone that's there I've known and associated with, and that they're just a good group of people, There's a lot of those King Air operators and vendors and all that. It's a pretty tight-knit little community because private aviation's already pretty niche, and then you niche it down to just King Air operators, and it's like it's a pretty small group all of a sudden comparatively,
Yeah. How many different models kind of have their own groups or followings kind of like that?
Just about all of the bigger models do. There's the Independent Falcon Operators Association.
We'll be there in September.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one with all the Falcons we're operating all the time. It's going to be cool to go hang out with that group, and I think we'll get a lot out of that, so that'll be cool. And then the Citation guys have their own, TBM guys have their own. There's a bunch of them out there that kind of focus very specifically on their models and their unique challenges to their models. So
What is some of the unique challenges to the King Air?
The biggest thing with it is it gets, like a lot of the big maintenance providers out there, as they get more Gulfstreams and Challengers and these kind of aircraft into their facilities, it's real easy for them to kind of ignore the King Air a little bit and almost treat it less than. So sometimes they struggle to get good, high-quality professional support, and they, although a lot of those guys still do a good job, like Steven still does a good job with it, and there's several of the big ones that I'm not saying they don't do a good job, but there's several that really suck. and they
name them all now. I'll tag them in the video.
And sometimes those guys, they're either stuck with kind of a mom and pop shop operation that can't quite run at the level they need them to run at, or they deal with very bad service out of some of the big ones. And so trying to find the people that are interested enough and dedicated enough to the King Air line to go to an event like King Air Gathering and be dedicated to taking care of them and supporting them on the maintenance side is, I think they get value out of that. So, and then on the pilot side, there's just lots of tidbits they pick up from the guys that have a lot of time flying and training in the King Airs. And the King Air, one of the great things about it is it's not a super complicated aircraft. It's it's a fairly straightforward airframe, and it runs PT6 engines on it that are bulletproof. They're just really, really reliable, robust engines. So they're not, that's part of the benefit of them, is that you can kind of work on them out of a single toolbox, and it's one of the reasons they're economical to own.
Chris called it the Suburban of the Sky, I think.
Dude, there's so many nicknames for it. There's the Texas Suburban. There's what's the one I like? I'm going to draw a blank on it now that we're talking about it, but it's got a bunch of names for it.
Why is it called the Texas Suburban? Are they out of Texas or?
No, they're really popular in Texas. There's like a super high concentration of King Airs in Texas because we have a lot of small rural towns with little airports, and it's not real far in between them. and Texas is generally known for the large folks that live here, and
Texas
so,
size?
Texas-sized people. And so you get 6 oil field workers trying to get into a lot of makes of aircraft. It ain't going to work, but you can cram as many guys as you need to in that for the most part and take off and land on those short strips. And they just work really good for the type of flying that happens around Texas. So there's just a ton of them here.
Gotcha.
And it's, everything's bigger. We're not going to use a regular Suburban. We're going to use an airplane Suburban. So
heck yeah. I like that. That makes me think of is there a certain aircraft that does really well in Alaska or that they tend to use in Hawaii?
Yeah. So Alaska, they do use a fair amount of King Airs up there as well, but they're doing a lot more off-field stuff, gravel runways, unimproved runways, that kind of stuff. So they use a lot of the Caravan. We have one here at the FBO today. I don't know if you saw it out there on the ramp, but the Caravans are out there. And then in Hawaii, they use King Airs for EMS work, but they also use a lot of helicopters around there to get around to the islands and stuff. So
yeah, that makes sense.
You definitely pick up a little demographic preference in different areas.
Do you happen to know if there's because whenever I think about Alaska, I think about those seaplanes, how much modification goes into those outside of just the landing gear? Do you have to fly them different? Is there different?
It changes their stall speeds and their cruise speeds and that kind of stuff. And it depends on if you're flying one that's just on floats or is it on amphibs. So just floats, you only can land it on water versus an amphib, it has retractable gear on it where you can land it on a runway or you can land it on water. So some of those change. We had a Caravan, like I was talking about, on amphibs here a few years ago that we used to take care of while the guy owned it here for a few years. Why you need an amphib Caravan in the Texas Panhandle is beyond me, but we had one.
Lake Meredith.
Yeah.
Talk about a short runway.
Exactly, yeah. And then we had Beaver on amphibs for a while. That one was a lot of fun. And then here a few years ago, we had a Cessna 206, and we went and bought it for a client on amphibs, and we got it here and took the amphibs off and put the regular gear on it and used it for a couple of years, and then we reconverted it back to the amphib gear and then sent it out of here. So to answer your question, there's a few control differences in the airplane. If you buy an aircraft that's not already outfitted for amphibs or floats, then there's quite a bit of work to modify it to be able to do that. But most of the aircraft, like Caravans, Beavers, 206s, a lot of those kind of aircraft, you can order them from the factory with the pre-fit for hanging floats on it. And then when you're doing that, it's not a big deal. You go buy you a set of whip line floats and stick it on there, and it's not a big deal.
Good to go.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's a different feeling, though, landing on water and taking off on water. But it's
So you've done the piloting of it?
Yeah.
Have you? Dude, that's crazy, man.
It's a lot of fun.
Was it super weird the first time?
Well, it's just when you're landing on a runway, you kind of get your depth perception from your normal field of view out the windscreen, right? So you kind of know you can't see your gear, so you're just kind of going from your sight picture on when you're going to touch down and how much to milk it down as you're coming, so you don't have one of those awesome bouncy landings or
had a couple of those.
Yeah. So when you're doing it on water, there's no reference point really. And especially if it's real glassy and there's no waves in it or nothing, it can be really hard to really feel where you're at, and so you can come in way too hard or float for way too long or whatever. And people that do it all the time, it's not a big deal. For me, I've done it 3 times in my career, so it was very different for me for sure, because it's a different way of getting your sight picture and figuring out how to touch down in them, and and remembering to make sure your gear is up when you land. That's backwards, so
right. Man, I need a Post-it note, man, to remind me.
Thank God I've been involved with one, but I've seen a lot of videos of people landing in their amphibs with their gear extended. It does not end well.
Does it rip the gear off?
Yeah,
or
it usually
make
just
the nose
flips the
tip?
airplane straight over, and it's not pretty. You should not land with an anchor. So
that makes sense.
But and obviously up there they have a lot of the Super Cubs and the Huskies and the the tail draggers with the big, you see them with the great big tires on them that they run at real low pressure so they can get over those river rocks when they're going in and out of the sandbars and that kind of stuff. So there's definitely some unique flying in Alaska. They do some funny stuff. Dude. But it's cool.
It's wild. Yeah, it makes sense helicopters would be the go-to in In Hawaii, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. You need a big airplane to get to Hawaii because of the distance out there. So when you're flying to Hawaii, you got to have something pretty good size with the fuel range to get out there. But then if you're out there and just trying to hop between the islands, like a caravan's a good option for, hauling cargo and stuff between the islands, but moving people around generally, even if you're just moving around one island, because of the way the road system is, if you're just hopping to the other side of the island, do it in a few minutes in a helicopter or a multi-hour drive to get around those roads. So, and I haven't spent a lot of time out there, but the few times I have been, that's kind of what I've seen is how they're doing it.
What's kind of the cutoff on, or at what models did Jet start having the capability to make that flight from California to Hawaii?
You generally get up into your super mids to do it effectively and safely. There's, yeah, that minor detail.
I think we can do it.
You get the ones where you just get a lot of altitude, run out of gas, and fly in, or sail
Pass.
in. But they have ferry tanks they put on these airplanes to get them out there. So, you can load up a ferry tank in the back of just about any of these smaller airplanes and get there. But to do it in a normal, safe passenger configuration, you're usually up in that super mid and up.
Gotcha.
And it also depends. Do you want to take off from the middle of the United States and go direct to Hawaii, or are you okay with stopping in California or Oregon or Washington and doing a fuel stop and then taking off from there and heading out? So there's some, kind of depends on what you're doing. You flying 2 people or you flying 15 people? And so
right. All the different factors. Yeah, that's for sure. Dude, that's so funny, man. As I started hanging around you guys and asking questions about the industry, it's like 90% of the time you can't ask a question that has a simple answer because it's just all those different variables at play.
Yeah.
It's interesting, though.
The best answer is it depends.
Right?
Yeah.
No doubt. What's the weirdest thing you've ever worked on?
Weird.
Or out of the ordinary, or...
One of my favorite projects, so there's a couple of them, but the 2 that stand out the most actually both happened while I lived in Wyoming. And one of them, we were restoring an old PBY. So talking about the boat planes, an old PBY is a whole bottom airplane. So like the bottom of the airplane's like a boat. It doesn't have the floats that come out. It's like the bottom of the airplane is the float. Right. It's like a boat. And then it has gear that retracts up into the side and comes down, but it has it's a big airplane, and it's got like these big windscreens that stick out of the sides of it, and it's partially dope and fabric wing, partially metal wing. It was just a really unique airplane, and it was all matte black, and it was pretty dope.
Nice.
And unfortunately, I didn't get to see it fly out of there. I wasn't there when they finished it, but I got to work on that one a little. It was fun. And then while I was there, we also built the airplane that was used in the remake of the Flight of the Phoenix movie. That one was cool to build too. That was a C-119 box car, and it had like the jump doors on the back. There again, a pretty good size old airplane with radial engines on it, and actually building that up to the level that it worked to use it on that movie and everything was pretty fun. And then watching them make the movie, and in the movie it looks like the airplane's all destroyed and all this stuff, but the airplane came back home in one piece. It was not destroyed, so it was kind of interesting seeing the back end of that piece of it. And when I took that job up there in Wyoming, it was cold as shit. It was wintertime, and the first job they put me on, they had another contract going where they were doing some work on some military C-130s and stuff, and so they didn't have room to put that airplane all the way inside the hangar, so they just had kind of a tent across the front, and then part of like the wings and the tail and everything were sticking out. And so the first job I had to work on was was putting new rivets in the leading edge of the wing, but I was standing on top of a ladder outside at sub-zero temperatures.
With wind, probably.
It was windy and it was cold as shit. Like we had the big pressure chamber for the air tools for the rivet guns and stuff. We had this reservoir on it. You'd have to put that fluid in it like you put in a semi-truck to keep the brakes from freezing up. So we'd have to stop and fill it up. Otherwise, that moisture would freeze in our rivet guns and they wouldn't work. But doing rivets, they're these, they're pretty small, so you can't really wear gloves. So you're out there trying to put a rivet in and run into this rivet gun that's freezing cold in your hand, and so you'd shoot a rivet and you'd like and I did that for a few days, and ongoing with that, they were recovering some dope and fabric wings in a heated building, and you have to do that inside. And they're doing the rib lacing, so you're feeding you got this needle that's 3.5 feet long, and you got a guy on the other side with the flashlight where the marks are for where you feed the thing back and forth. So a guy on that side, a guy on this side all day long, just feeding that needle back and forth, sewing
my gosh.
doing the rib stitching on it. And there was a guy in there bitching about how bored he was and all this. So that lead guy, at this time I'm a baby A&P, I don't know shit. But that guy in there was bitching about being bored about it or whatever. So that lead grabbed him and took him outside and made him go on my job and put me in there, dude. I did not say a word. I was like, I'll do this all day long. I'm not saying a damn word. I'm out of that cold and out of that freezing. And that guy out there is like, oh, no, I want my job back. I'm good. Nope.
Dude.
Yeah, it was funny.
Done messed up, Ron.
Yeah.
That was a bad
hilarious.
call.
Mm-hmm.
Man. Yeah, Wyoming reminds me a lot of where we live.
Yeah.
But maybe a little bit worse.
I love Wyoming. It was fun. I really enjoyed it up there, in spite of the cold.
Right, yeah. I was just thinking about the winters when I've been up there, man, and God, it's so cold and that wind is howling.
I think the river that ran through the town that we lived in there, it was froze when I moved in, and I don't think I saw the water moving in the river for like 3 or 4 months after I got there. So, yeah, it was cold.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Man. How many different states have you lived in?
Oh, gosh. I think, see here, basically I think I've been in every state west of Texas, like this area. That way I've been in every one of those for some period of time.
Dang.
Yeah, and then worked in a lot of them on the other side of the country too. But basically from the time I left home when I was 17 until I moved to Texas, I didn't stay anywhere more than 6 or 7 months. Like, I was on the move. I was trying to figure out what what I was doing with my life, and I don't like this as much. I want to go check this. I was just really in roaming mode. I'm a roamer anyway. If it wasn't for Robin, I'd probably still be doing that.
I believe you. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. What was your favorite place you lived?
I think Wyoming, honestly.
Dang, really?
I loved it. Yeah,
Nice.
we lived right there on the edge of the Bighorn Mountains and go checking those out. And it was also just a fun phase of life, whether I would like it as much now or not, I don't know, because it was a different time. I was young and having fun, and life was a big party, and it was a good place.
I feel like
for
you
it.
need to say all that again, but in like Morgan Freeman's voice. It was a different time.
I don't want to
You went straight narrator, bro. That's cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've never been to the part of Wyoming that has mountains. It was just more like kind of hilly.
If you're down by Cheyenne and stuff, it's just flat and colder. So, yeah, I wouldn't.
So I apologize, Wyoming. I haven't been to your beautiful part.
Yeah, you got to go up to the northern side. Like Cody, Wyoming is freaking phenomenal. And then there's a place right across the border into Montana right there. This little town called Red Lodge. And it's heaven, dude. I love Red Lodge and Cody and that whole area up there. It's gorgeous.
Nice.
And not overly inundated with tourists and stuff. And it's just,
very cool.
I love it. The rule was you had to tell everyone how horrible it is up there so no one would move there. So I'm violating the code right now.
It's like that Iceland, Greenland thing, right?
Exactly.
You got to pull the switcheroo, fake everybody out.
Yeah, exactly.
He violated the code. No one tell anybody.
Yeah, don't tell anyone. That was all a lie. It's terrible. Don't go there.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, Beth and I have been watching Yellowstone, and that's what made me think of like the tourist thing versus like, how locals versus tourists, all that, man. It's pretty crazy. That's a good show, man. It's crazy. So many unexpected things happen, but that dude's killing it. What's that dude's name that wrote that? Tyler Sheridan, right?
Yeah,
Taylor
Sheridan, yeah.
Bro, that guy's creative, man.
Yeah, he's done some crazy stuff. I was watching a video of him doing a celebrity, because he really is good on a horse and doing cutting horses and stuff. I was watching a video of a celebrity cutting he was doing just last night on social. It was pretty cool watching him still getting after it and doing a great job on cutting, and it was
nice.
That's one thing I like about all these Western movies and shows he's making and all that. I mean, I don't know the guy, but from what I've seen, he lives that lifestyle. Like, he's all into horses and training and cutting and spending a lot of money on these big ranch. He just bought that big 4.6 ranch right here in town,
Right.
north of town. And
Wonder who manages his jets. Because if it's not the Jet Cowboy,
it doesn't even make sense.
That's a bad call.
Yeah, it is.
It has to be you, actually.
It has to be.
I'm not even joking right now.
I'm not either.
This must happen.
Let's do it.
Let's track him down. And I probably should have gotten his name right if we're going to make a pitch here. Mr. Sheridan.
Yeah, that's it.
I think you need to reconsider whoever is managing your planes, because this is on brand.
The equally important part is he is doing a lot out of that Granbury, Texas area down there.
Oh, really?
And so we took the kids racing. There's a road course kart track down there at Crescent, Texas. And I didn't know it when we were going down there. We were just going to a race. But it turns out there's a full-size road course right next to it. And they have these like 2- and 3-story houses all around the edge of that road course. So the bottom floor is where you keep your car. And then the upper floors are like an observation deck and living quarters and all this. So you can be in your house and watch the races going on the track, and then have your car in the ground level and be able to go right out on the track. I must live there.
Dude, that would be sick, man.
Dude, it would be so awesome.
Wow.
And so I'd be close by. So
yeah.
it works for
There you
everyone.
go. Proximity, man. Absolutely. I got some good friends that live in Granbury.
Yeah.
I've heard that town is like blowing up, man.
Yeah,
it's got a little lake and yeah.
There's a lot of people heading that way.
How is the kids racing going?
Really good, man. That Wiley this past week.
The Greasy Goose.
The Greasy Goose. This past week he got crossed up. This other kid kind of came across the front of him and clipped him and caused him to spin around and hook up, and he rolled his cart. And so that was the first kind of big bang up they've had, and tore all the shit out of his car. And so we've spent the last week getting it all ready. We're going racing again tonight, and so that was fun. And they were trying to get him to leave to go back to the pits, and he's like, no, I'm fine. So he finished the race with his wing all tore up and everything. Dang. It was fun to watch. Heck yeah. And then Amelia on that race, the first few races, she was a little timid and a little like giving people lots of room, and she turned it on though. We had another event going on at the big dirt track here, and so there was a bunch of out-of-towner people here, a bunch from Oklahoma and stuff, so way bigger race class than she's used to. So I was like, may not be good, but it turned her on, and she ended up finishing second out of all of them. And
nice.
But more importantly, like, her driving like picked up and got really good. Like, she was picking really smart passing lanes and getting real aggressive. There was a couple of kids trying to force her out of her line, and she's holding her ground on it and picking good passing zones, and she's really turned it on. She's done great. So
that makes sense. When I was out there with y'all at their first race, just listening to what she was articulating, I was like, speaking of like personality styles, I was like, man, I think she's a DC. Yeah. And like once she gets comfortable and figures some things out, like she's gonna turn a corner real quick. But I could see she was like processing things and wishing she had more opportunities for fine tuning, you know. Whereas Wiley's just go with the flow, man. He's just trying to jam that, accelerate and get going.
It's funny watching their driving styles. It comes out in that because Wiley's just foot to the floor and bouncing off of cars, and he does good just because he's fearless and just gets after it and goes. She's going to be really good because she's very technical, tactful on how she does it, when she picks, where she goes. Yeah,
bro, they are like the like Ricky Bobby and that French guy. And
they are totally, and she's totally into F1. That's her dream.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, her dream is to be an F1 driver. And where we're at, I don't have a excellent resource to put her on the path for that. So I'm just getting her laps, getting her time in the seat, doing this dirt track stuff. But we're going to migrate her towards the paved stuff and putting her in there. And Wiley's like, oh, what's his one of the guys that helps us on our racing stuff, his expression is asphalt is for getting there, dirt's for racing. And so they get into this argument. So now you got Wiley saying that all the time, that asphalt's for getting there and dirt's for racing. And she's like, no, give me my fancy car. And so, yeah.
That's
she's
so funny, man.
There. But I laugh about that Ricky Bobby thing because it is exactly what it is. It's
Wiley wants to go fast.
Yeah.
You got to tell the people why we call him the Greasy Goose, though.
Oh, God. That's so funny. So we were recording an episode one day on an airplane, and it was just me and Dub. And so we had the camera on a tripod, and with the airplane sitting there on the ground. every time he'd run up and down the air stair door, it would shake the airplane a little and shake the camera. And so he was wanting to get off the airplane to go get a drink. And I said, no, don't move. Just get something out of the cabinet right there next to you. And so he starts opening the drawers on the cabinet to see what's in there. And he pulls out one of the little shooter bottles and he goes, what the heck is Greasy Goose? It was Grey Goose vodka. And just coincidentally, we were in the middle of trying to pick out a fun nickname for him and all that, and it just hit, and it stuck, and he calls himself the Greasy Goose now, and now he's Greasy Goose everything. So
funny. He told me he was going to hit up Dawn for a sponsorship because they have that degreasing the ducks commercial. Dude, I laughed so hard. And then I was like, they might actually go for it. Like, he should follow up on that. That'd be hilarious, man.
He totally was. He's mentioned that one several times. About every other day, he's got a new, like, Fortune 50 sponsor in his mind, and then he's hell-bent on getting Andy to sponsor him through all the Phorm stuff, and he's real big on this one with the Dawn and the ducks, and he's funny.
He told me he was going to get a pet goose on a leash, like a little harness.
Yeah, so Robin brought him home like a stuffed goose the other day, and he's like, that ain't going to work. I need a real-life goose. And he was all offended that she wanted him to use a prop goose. He's like, no, we're getting a real goose.
Thing. Mm-hmm. The issue is, not that I've encountered a lot of geese. That'd be weird. But all the ones I have encountered are always mean, dude.
Yeah,
so
Robin hates them.
How are you going to get a nice goose?
I think it'd be more fun to have a mean goose, dude. You got a goose on a leash that bites people when you walk by.
It's a guard goose, bro. This just went to the next level. And like he guards the car.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? The cart while he's not there. That's hilarious, dude.
It'd be epic.
Dude, I'm going way too far down this guard goose. Okay, we gotta reel it back in. That's freaking hilarious though.
A guard goose.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Imagine we just walk by and this goose grabbing you every time you walk by.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's happened. That's not the cool part. Watching the goose bite other people. That's the fun part, man. Speaking of that observation deck.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Greasy Goose. I like it.
Yeah. Pretty entertaining.
For sure.
So about that King Air Gallery.
Yeah. We got way off track. But we're back. Yeah, that was a good time, man. And
so we don't follow bunny trails, we follow goose tracks.
Yes. Goose tracks. I like it.
Hey guys, we'll get back to the video in a sec, but first, quick question for you business owners and high achievers watching. When you're traveling around the country for deals, scaling teams, or managing stress, are you actually flying with a team that makes your life easier? Or are you dealing with scheduling headaches, surprise maintenance bills, and too many moving parts behind the scenes? Well, that's why today's sponsor, Haven Aviation Services Group, exists. Think of them as the safe haven of the sky. Haven is a vertically integrated aviation company, meaning they handle everything under one roof, from your private jet charters, aircraft management, brokerage, maintenance, avionics, and premium grade services at their FBO. For aircraft owners especially, this is the absolute real best value. Instead of juggling pilots, insurance, scheduling, maintenance, hangars, legal docs, Haven manages it all in one place. No guessing, no surprises, and no wondering why something suddenly costs six figures. Their entire focus is transparency, safety, and long-term planning. So you actually trust the people managing your aircraft and don't have to stress about it at all. So if you want an aviation partner that operates with the same discipline and results-driven mindset we talk about on the show, hit the link in the description to connect with Haven Aviation Services Group. Big thanks to Haven ASG for sponsoring today's video, and now let's get back to the show.
You got your A to A gear rocking.
Heck yeah, man. Allergic to Average. Yeah. My boy Matt Lee.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was a good episode too.
Yeah.
We'll put a link in the show notes to that episode, but yeah, man, he's been killing it. And aviation related because of his logo. Did I ever tell you he got a cease and desist from American Airlines on his logo?
The AA on there.
Yeah, haters trying to crush the little guy.
Yeah.
But now he worked it out. He just had to provide evidence it was a different industry.
Airplane-y logo.
It is, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, he's crushing it, man. Got some good stuff out there.
I'm excited.
I know we share the same values, man. Average is boring and lame. It's irritating. Get that out of here. Get that average out of my face. Yeah. Man, where do you see average mindsets and practices? Because here's the deal, right? The private aviation industry, there's no room for screwing up.
Yeah.
But there's going to be screw ups in every industry. So where do you kind of see that coming out a lot, where people are trying to come in average, they're fudging things, trying to find loopholes rather than just operating with an above standard of excellence?
Yeah, there. Unfortunately, we see a lot of it in the operations side. So the Part 135 operations have very clearly defined things you can do and can't do, and they've all been put there for a reason for the most part, I might argue.
So just in case somebody doesn't know, what is a Part 135?
Part 135 is the regulatory shorthand for being able to hold out for charter operations to the public. So an on-demand charter operator is what we operate under the 135 regulation. And so all that means is we can go advertise and charge the public something to come and fly on one of our airplanes. If you don't have that, you're under Part 91, which is the shorthand for private operation. It means you cannot charge somebody or take trades or do anything to take any kind of compensation for use of that aircraft. So
just personal use. And is that like
use.
Governed by the FAA? Like,
Yeah.
is that?
Yeah, the FAA has the regulatory oversight over all that. And so if it's just you and your airplane for your own personal use, they're like, do you, whatever. Like, there's rules, don't get me wrong, but it's to a great extent, they're like, it's your personal business. You want to go do something dumb and hurt yourself, that's your prerogative. But when you're going to advertise to the public and you're going to take their money, they're trusting that some agency is making sure they're going to be safe.
Yeah.
So it moves the bar way up the chain on compliance and regulatory rules and all this stuff. So it drastically increases pilot minimums and oversight. Like, the FAA's in here auditing us basically on a monthly basis, making sure we're not overloading the airplanes, we're using the right maintenance processes, our pilots are trained correctly, our back end dispatch release, that we're checking the weather before we release a flight, we're making sure the pilot hasn't flown too many hours in the last 24 hours. Just a whole bunch of things to make it safe, because the public don't know. They're just assuming somebody's making sure they're safe. Well, doing all that costs a lot of money. So
Right.
having all the infrastructure and back end support to be able to live up to that is an expensive proposition. So there's a lot of people that shortcut that by operating under Part 91 rules, but we call it either 134 and a half, or as Paul called it, the damp lease.
Right.
I like that. That one's like dripping, we see a ton of that and combat that all over the country. And the FAA's really taken a much more firm stance on it in the last few years. But there's only so much bandwidth they have and so much they can do. And when they catch it, they try to do something. But the unfortunate thing is a lot of times they either don't know about it or they don't have the manpower or budget to do anything about it until somebody gets killed or hurt or something bad happens. And then they have to step in and get involved. But that one's particularly irritating to me, just because people are, for financial gain, they're shortcutting the safety side of things. And when they're under that Part 91 side, they can use pilots that are way underqualified for what you're asking them to do, and they can run those pilots 24 hours a day, and then say now you got a fatigued pilot that's been flying way too much. And
What could someone do if they're, looking for fractional ownership in a jet or just looking to charter? How can you, as on that end, know if you're dealing with somebody who's legit or someone who's being shady? If it's a dry lease that's operating under all the standards, or the damp lease, and finding loopholes, how do you know?
If they're operating under Part 135 rules, then you at least know they're being audited and checked to a greater degree. So that one's kind of a low-hanging fruit piece. Are they 135 or are they not? And there are some that run Part 91 that run impeccable operations, that do a great job at it. And there are ways you can do it safely and legally and do it right. So it's not an automatic that the 135 is automatically better than the 91,
Right.
but it's a good kind of gut check. Hey, more than likely they're going to be at least reasonably okay if they're running under a 135. But if they're not and they're under a Part 91, then, usually if numbers are too good to be true, there's a reason. Like, don't get sucked into some, you're putting your life, your family's life, whoever's getting on the airplane on the line and doing something that can be dangerous if it's not done correctly. And you don't want the Kmart version of that, right?
No.
You want the highest level
that
of
blue light special, bro.
Yeah, exactly. You want the highest level of that you can afford. And personally, if I can't afford it to do it safely, I'd rather wait until I can afford it to do it safely.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Live to fly another day.
Exactly. Yeah. So, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And then also I would ask for industry referrals from them, like see if they have, they may have some other clients they'll give you, but do they have anybody industry wise
that'll vouch for
right.
them?
Yeah. So there's a couple of good things that you can kind of check at a low level. And then it's hard for me to say what a uninformed person might want to ask because I just know all the things to ask, but I wouldn't be shy about, well, I want to see what kind of training credentials the pilots that are going to be flying me have. How many hours do they have? You walk up and they're 12 years old and you're like, hey, he probably
it's Wiley.
Yeah, exactly.
Why does my pilot have a pet goose with him? That's weird.
Yeah, exactly.
His jet has dong on the side.
Oh, he's going to capitalize that.
That's a damp lease for sure. Get it? All right. So
lame. I liked it though.
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
So, and then what's the aircraft look like? Go look at it. Is it filthy? Is it dirty? Is it nice? Is it what's on the outside of the aircraft is not always, but frequently it's indicative of what are they doing on the inside. Are they, if they can't even take the time to wipe down the outside of it, what's the chances they're doing a good job on the inside of it? So,
facts.
So a few little quick check items.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that one for sure is a big key. If you're getting offered a deal that undercuts everybody else, there's gonna be a reason. So figure it out and make sure it's worth it.
The private aviation space is tight on margins across the board. Like everyone sees the amount of money moving around and they're like, oh, those guys are all rich. But the truth is it's pretty tight margin business. If somebody's undercutting everyone else by 15%, they're cutting something because there ain't 15% of margin in any of it. So there's something going on that you should be like, I ought to dig into this a little.
Fly at your own risk at that point. Yeah. Man, not worth it.
No, not to me it ain't.
No, I like to live, bro. I'm trying to check out early.
And it doesn't even have to get to that extreme of something that horrible. It's, are they going to be here next month when I need them? Am I going to get a bunch of money tied up in this and they're going to fold up shop because they're not charging enough to keep their doors open? Are they going to have sustainability to be around when I need them for the next year or two? What's my experience going to be like? Do they have a back-end support network where something does go wrong on the flight? Do I have someone I can call and get fixed? Do they have supplemental lift options to get me on the rest of my trip if something happens to the airplane? Like, it's all the support all the way around it, with the worst case scenario being something tragic happening, but that's really unlikely. What's more likely is you're going to get stranded in BFE and there's not going to be anyone to answer the phone, and now you're stuck there going, what do I do now?
Yeah.
So
question, you talk about the ecosystem of services, all the infrastructure, having back-end support, all of these different things. Could I, as a client, if I'm getting offered a really good deal, would it be smart for me to begin to check into like what kind of facilities they're running out of? Like, are they just renting a hangar somewhere, or do they like have an established MRO or FBO?
Haven is pretty unique in the fact that we have a robust infrastructure on all of the pieces that makes a jet work. So we have the maintenance, the management, the professional services, the charter, the Part 91 ops, the FBO. Like we have all of the pieces, but that's pretty unusual.
Yeah,
we're one of very few that are built all encompassing like that. Most of the time you have an operator, especially if they're a Part 91 operator, they're not going to have any of that. They're going to have a pilot background. They're probably a pilot themselves, and they've got a few guys to agree to buy a couple airplanes, and they go fly them. But they don't generally have their own maintenance, they very rarely are going to have like their own FBO infrastructure, all that. So, yeah, asking a few questions like who maintains your aircraft, and then make sure whoever that is a reputable place, because that's a huge component of it, of the safety of the aircraft and the reliability is who's maintaining it. And then, how does your sales team or your booking team or your concierge team work? Do you have any of those? Or if you're in bed, am I going to be able to get a hold of anyone? Or, you know, kind of asking some of those questions about it. And then where they store the airplane, depending geographically where you're at, may or may not matter. Like in our area, you don't want to store an airplane outside because we have hailstorms and thunderstorms and all this and wind all the time. So, you know, are they storing, if you're going in on a fractional ownership and you're going to be responsible for that airplane, are they storing it indoors? Is it an outdoor storage? And there's parts of the country where outdoor storage is normal. I just still don't like it, but it's pretty normal in some parts of the country. But also, where is your primary launch facility from? Are you going into a really nice FBO with good amenities and good support at the FBO side? Or are you showing up at Farmer Ted's trailer house and, you know, like...
Why you got to throw Ted under the bus? He's a nice lady.
Yeah, he's a nice lady. Yeah, so you get all the extremes, you know, and just kind of navigating your way through those back-end questions of... Other than getting on the airplane and going somewhere, there's a lot that goes on. Do they have concierge team that'll help you make sure your rental car is going to be there when you get there? Or are you going to land and have hell figuring out where your rental car is? Because if people aren't used to flying into FBOs, some FBOs are big enough, they'll have a car terminal of some sort there. Like there's a lot of them now that have like a Go Rentals or something there. But you know, your typical Enterprise, Hertz, all those, they don't usually occupy a space in the FBO. Right. So they got to have the cars delivered there. And depending on the FBO and all that, sometimes they're good at making sure it's there. And sometimes they're like, it's not our job. We don't care. So who's making sure that your trip on the other side is going to be effective and seamless, all the way down to on the aircraft, if you have specific food preferences, drink preferences, all that kind of stuff. Are they going to remember?
How many greasy gooses are on this?
Exactly. I want 14 greasy gooses before I depart.
Bro, so. I swear if he, in like 10 years, if he has his own vodka brand, it's going to be freaking amazing.
That would be funny.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
The other place you see people get very average or fall below average is in the maintenance side. Like, you know, we're definitely not the cheapest operators out there, and it's because we have real high-end technicians. We do everything above average, and you can't both deliver an above-average product and have way below-average price. So we're fair, but we don't try to be the bottom dollar operator. And so you'll get someone that'll come in and be like, well, they only charged me $200 to do my annual over there. Well, if you just want a hot pencil annual, then fine, but
they got a $200 signature.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and some owners are cool with that. They're like, man, I don't care. It's fine. It flew in here, you know, it'll be all right. So the owners that want that kind of stuff, that's between them.
Well, hey, they can go there. We're not looking for those kind of owners.
But the part where it bothers me is when you have an owner that doesn't know that's what they're getting.
Right.
It's like this average price. That's like, it's stupid cheap. The owner knows what they're doing. They know why they're getting it, and that's between them and whatever. But it's the ones that are like charging an average price that they don't really, it may take a couple of bad events for them to realize that they're not getting a good product out of there. And some of the shops do it over money. They're trying to increase margins by delivering a below average product. And some of them, they're just, you know, you've got to have a really badass company culture and package, and you got to have everything now to keep good quality aircraft mechanics around, because they're getting so scarce. So a lot of them, that I would give them the credit that they don't want to be average. They are just struggling to get the right caliber of people in their organization. So whatever the reason is, the end product is average or below average. And then when the pricing kind of falls in that place, an owner that doesn't know anything about maintenance, they're not mechanical backgrounds, they don't know anything about it. So all they're going on is, hey, you know, they even did a little homework. Hey, we checked around. This is pretty normal price. So they don't know any different. So then they either get bad service or low communication, or they go to pick the aircraft up and something still broke, whatever. And then to complicate it is a lot of the owners we deal with now that we're almost exclusively in the jet space, is we don't usually deal directly with the owner on that. It's usually a pilot or another management company. And then you get below average again, you get a management company that's trying to skim money through the maintenance process. So they're overseeing the maintenance being done at that shop, and they're trying to suppress the price there because they're going to pad that invoice and pass it on and try to make some money in the middle. And some, they have it in their contract, they can do that. Others do it not so transparently. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff that goes on. So
it's been interesting to me as I've been getting acquainted with the industry, hanging out with you. It's like a jet as a purchase and an asset, something that you have. I've really struggled outside of maybe yachts. I can't think of another purchase that a successful person will make that comes with such a vast chasm in knowledge, like know-how. It seems like a really weird purchase that comes with a whole lot of unknowns in there that you shouldn't know. You know, if you've been such an expert in an area to become successful enough to buy a jet, it's like you're a purposeful person. You're spending all your time. You are a master at something. Yeah. It's probably not aviation, but when you make that purchase, like, oh my gosh, there's so much that you need to know, or you need to make sure you're hiring someone who knows what they're doing to handle that purchase for you. I really can't think of any other things that people purchase that is on that scale.
I would definitely say it's a who, not how problem.
Yeah.
If you're in that spot to own that airplane, you're not going to be one that has the time, and unless you're looking at it as a hobby, the inclination to go learn how to do all this stuff. So then it becomes a who.
Yeah.
Do you have a good, reputable person that's in charge of all that for you, whether it's an in-house or you're outsourcing it to a management company or whatever? You should be able to have one person on your phone. You pick it up and you say, what is going on here? And they should be able to shoot you straight, tell you this is that, that's why, and they should be heavily educated on all these different facets. And that's the way it generally works. And unfortunately, a lot of early owners, they got to go through 3 or 4 bad experiences to find the guy they can trust to do all that stuff for them and get a straight answer out of them. Yeah. And not have them, there's large dollars that move around in the business. So if you get a bill for $150,000, you may not even bat an eye. It's, oh yeah, okay, that's maintenance, whatever. It's really easy for unscrupulous people to pull $5,000 here, pull $2,000 here, and on that scale, it might take years for you to catch it and find out it's going on. So, yeah, trust and integrity are the most important piece on that.
So, would you say the most important decision that a jet owner is going to make is who is going to manage that aircraft for them?
If they're, yes.
Glad you worked that out.
Well, there's caveats, but I feel like I'm always throwing caveats because there are always caveats. But if they've owned 5 or 6 airplanes, they know the game pretty good. They've been around it a long time. They can probably just work with their pilot, and between them and their pilot being able to handle it. But if you're
those guys are the exception to the rule.
Yeah, they're definitely the exception. It's even the guys that have owned a bunch of airplanes generally don't want the headache of it all. They just want their one guy they got on speed dial, and they're like, hey, I need that X, Y, and Z. Yeah. Where a lot of people, first-time owners or early owners, make the mistake is they think that when they go hire a pilot, that guy is going to be their guy that does it all. And there are some of those guys that are really good at it. They are the pilot. They do own all these things. But there again, those guys are usually the exception. Usually what happens is a guy is a really good pilot, and the owner makes this assumption that, hey, I got my pilot. He's going to do all this for me. The pilot is going to feel some level of obligation to be the guy to do all that. But he doesn't know tax law. He doesn't know shit about finance. He doesn't know that much about maintenance. So he's going to need a lot of resources to support him. Well, the dynamic that happens a lot there then is now the pilot's trying to use all these other resources. Well, all those resources are going to charge him money. Yeah. And so now he's trying to explain to the owner, well, why are we paying these guys this and paying these guys this and all this? And then the owner's like, well, I thought you were handling all that. Well, he is handling it by using all those other resources, right? Versus you just have a true, legit management company that has all those resources bolted into it and has the pilot staffing as one component of the whole picture. So, yeah,
it makes sense. And make sure, like, if you're considering purchasing a jet, or maybe you're a first-time jet owner, on our YouTube channel, and you can head on over to jetcowboy.com. You're able to access for free our beginner's guide to jet ownership. That man, you drop I think like 10 hours of knowledge about that, walking people through all the things they need to be aware of, and so that's a great resource for you to check out. What you got coming up, man?
One thing I'm super stoked about, next week we're going to be in Scottsdale all week. We're going to a business convention and meeting with some other FBO owners out there, and we've got a big week of stuff planned out there, and so I'm excited. And since we're going to Scottsdale, our ranch is in New Mexico, right over close to Arizona, so we're actually going to drop the kids off at Camp Grandpa out there at the ranch for a few weeks and let them hang out and spend a couple weeks out at the ranch, because we got Scottsdale all next week, and then the following week we're going to be out at St. Louis for the operator standard stuff with Andy Frizella's group out there.
Nice.
So that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that and hanging out with that crew. So it's going to be a good time.
Good stuff coming up, man. Get to hang out with some high performance, high achievers, man.
Got the family reunion coming up out at the ranch over Father's Day weekend, so that's going to be fun. We're going to a bunch of people coming out, and that's always a good time.
There you go, man.
Yeah.
The ranch for the legend of the Jet Cowboy began, man. The family ranch. That's cool.
Yeah.
Tell your dad the city boy said, "What's up?"
He'll say,
he's the best, man. Are they finished calving out there? Or is he still?
I think there's still a few that haven't dropped that are getting a little late in the year, but one of the purebred Highlands just had another one the day before yesterday, so
nice.
That was fun. Yeah.
Okay.
We've got way too many mouths to feed now.
Right. Do you have to? Yeah, you'd have to feed. There's not a lot out there for them to eat, huh?
Yeah,
mainly feed.
That drought going on over there right now, it's almost all supplements, so it's very non-productive on the financial side right now.
Yeah,
but
that makes sense. When we were out there, remember how there was like the elk was like super scarce? Is it still scarce? And is it because of the drought still, or?
Yeah, they're a lot thinner than they normally are out there, but they have came back a little bit. We're starting to see them showing back up on the game cams and stuff, and hopefully have a little better year of it this year. And our mule deer tags that we got this year are not in that unit. We actually got some in a different part of the state that should get some really good mule deer this year. Nice. I'm excited about.
Did you snag that piece of land you were looking at when I was out there with you?
Yeah, we got it bought up, and it's got like a half-finished barn dough on it right now.
Oh, so nice.
We're going to find a contractor or someone out in that area to finish it up, and it'll be a cool little spot.
Heck yeah. Dude, that sign had a really funny misspelling on it, right? What did it say?
Oh, yeah. What the heck did it say?
Dang it. It had me cracking up.
I have a picture of it. What was it? Acers. 50 acers for sale.
Yeah. That's 50 acers. Yeah. I was like, nothing says for sale by owner. Then your
hand-painted sign that says for sale 50 acres.
But honestly, though, it also makes me feel like I'm going to trust whoever I'm going to talk to on the other side. Because,
for sure.
Dude, they're just trying to sell some land, man.
So. They're not trying to get one over on me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's funny.
Awesome. Got some good times coming up, man.
Yeah, lots of cool stuff. It's going to be hectic as usual, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm excited about all the stuff we got coming up, and I'll see you when I get back.
It'll be good, man. I know you'll have some stories for the next episode, so tune back in, my friends. And while you're here, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, share this episode with somebody, and we'll see you right back here, the Jet Cowboy, next time.
See y'all.